Today is the 4th of February. We are in the Upper Hamlet. We continue the 50 verses on the manifestation of consciousness. We have been reading together the 30 verses, and today we arrive at verse number 19. The habit energy of actions with the habit energy of the dual grasping give rise to another maturation when the former maturation has been exhausted. Maturation is another name of stored consciousness, and we know that the word maturation has to do with the word seeds. So the seeds in us, they are fed with our actions, and they ripe with our actions, and the fruit that we receive, that we enjoy, is called maturation. It's our own body, our 5 elements, and the environment. It's called maturation. And if we look at ourselves now, we see our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental formations, our consciousness, also the environment in which we find ourselves. All of that can be described as the fruit of maturation. And that is a manifestation of stored consciousness. We don't need to die in order to begin a new maturation. And if we look deeply, we will see that the maturation takes form every moment. And our being, the way we are in this moment, and the environment in which we find ourselves, is the fruit of maturation that we enjoy, that we receive, that we inherit from our own actions in the past. Karma is just action, and we have 3 kinds of actions: bodily actions, action carried out by speaking, and action carried out by thinking, imagining. And these 3 kinds of actions create the kind of energy, the kind of habit energy that will be the substance of maturation. And looking at our body, looking at our person and our environment, we know that this is the maturation of all the actions that we have done in the past, and there are more to come, because there are many habit energies that are still there deep in our stored consciousness, and they continue to come out and to manifest. In verse 19, we see that there are 2 kinds of habit energy. The first habit energy is called the habit energy of actions. That we understand, because we know that our person is the fruit of our action. not only our person but in our environment. It's like Jean-Paul Sartre saying that man is the sum of all his acts. L'homme est la somme de ses actes. But we have also the habit energy of dual grasping. The energy of dual grasping means the energy, the habit of seeing the duality between the subject of cognition and the object of cognition. We believe that we have a self, a consciousness that can exist independently from the object of cognition. We believe that the world is the object and we, the perceiver of the object, is distinct, is separate. And that is the habit energy of dual grasping. According to the teaching, consciousness manifests itself as the subject and as the object of cognition at the same time. Without the subject there is no object, and vice versa. And that is why the habit energy of dual grasping is the belief, conscious and unconscious, that outside of our consciousness there is the object of consciousness that can exist independently. And this needs a lot of practice, of looking deeply in order to remove that kind of view, of grasping. With the intervention of our practice, we can always bring about a new maturation. Suppose we practice walking meditation for half an hour, and during the walking meditation we practice the kind of action that will modify the present state of maturation. We are aware of our body, we go back to the present moment, we touch the earth and become more solid. And that is the kind of action that will bring about the habit energy that is wholesome, that will counterbalance the unwholesome energy in us, and that will bring about a modification of our maturation. So half an hour of sitting meditation or half an hour of walking meditation can bring about already a change, sometimes very important, sometimes not so important, because the practice is not deep enough. So we have the power to bring about a transformation, to bring about a modification, to bring about a new maturation by our way of looking, by our way of touching, by our way of living. Now we come to verse 20, 21 and 22. These are important verses because they deal with the matter of the three nature. Whatever range of events is constructed by whatever construction, it is just the constructed, its nature is non-existent. The first nature is the nature of the constructed. The world, as it seems to us, is product of our construction. Because of our habit energy, because of our ignorance, we used to look at the world as something outside of ourselves, and something that is consisted of selves and dharmas. It means we conceive things as having a separate entity. We conceive everything as having a self. It means they have a separate entity. Atma and Dharma. We are fooled by the appearance of things, by the lakshana of things. Lakshana means the appearance, the outside mark. And looking at things, we are fooled by its appearance, and we think that there are selves and there are things that exist outside of each other. Like the flower exists outside of the table, the flower exists outside of the sunshine, but in fact things are not like that. Things are without self. Things do not exist independently from of each other, outside of each other. And therefore the practice is to try to look in order to see the nature of interpenetration, the nature of interbeing of all things and all selves. And we begin by saying that self are made of non-self elements in order to help us to begin to see. There is no need to repeat that things have no self. Things are without a self, because that is a kind of indoctrination that will not help. What is helpful is to try to look and to see really the nature of interbeing in things and in selves. And when we are able to touch the true nature of non-self, of interbeing in things, well, we can use the word self and things without any fear, and it will not create obstacles for us anymore. But before that, we have to practice looking. So when you look at the world and you see that there are selves and there are things that exist outside of each other, the way most people do, and then that we know that this kind of image of the world is just an image constructed by our way of looking. It is called the constructed. Vikalpa, the constructed. Parikalpita. Vikalpa. Vikalpa. This is the constructed. If we are mindful, from time to time, we will realize that what we see is only what we construct. When we hate someone, when we get angry at someone, when we are attached to someone, very often the image of that someone is just a construction of our mind. We don't really hate that person. We don't really love that person. We don't really are not angry at that person. We hate an image we create from that person. We love the image that we have created from that person. So that is the image of vikalpa, the image of the constructed. And we live in the world of vikalpa. We suffer in the world of vikalpa. We are drowned into the world of vikalpa, the constructed world. And sometimes we know that. Sometimes we get enlightened. Sometimes we realize that that person is not the person I have thought him to be. That situation is not the situation that I have thought it to be. I have imagined things. I have constructed things. And I have been drowned into that kind of constructed world, and I have suffered quite a lot. So that is the first nature, the first of the three natures, the nature of the constructed. And the practice is to get out of that world of the constructed. And the key to help us unlock reality is the second nature, which is the nature of how we call it, the nature of interdependent. Paratantra. Paratantra is the nature Paratantra is the nature of interdependence. And this is what we touch when we practice looking deeply. We practice meditation in order to touch the nature of interdependence. The flower depends on the sunshine in order to be. And we see the interconnection between flower and sunshine. There is no flower without sunshine. So being mindful in our daily life, looking at things more deeply, we'll be able to touch the nature of interdependence. So there are friends in the United States of America. They have thought of creating a day called the Day of Interdependence, because there is a day of Independence Day. So organize a day of interdependence is to help people to touch the nature of Paratantra, because no country can survive alone. Countries depend on each other, and therefore in order to have an intelligent foreign policy and intelligent internal policy, you have to touch the nature of interdependence. Politicians have to practice the teaching of the three natures. They have to practice looking deeply in order to see that this is because that is, this is not because that is not, this is like this because that is like that. So our friends, when they try to create and celebrate a day of interdependence, they want to practice the nature of Paratantra, to remind themselves and to show other people that everything is linked to each other. You just cannot say that I only take care of this. This is mine. This is myself. So the practice of being mindful and of looking at yourself, at other people around you, at everything around you with mindfulness, in order to see this in that, the one in the many in the one, life in death, death in life, is the practice of touching the nature of impermanence, the nature of non-self, the nature of emptiness, the nature of interdependence. Because all that are linked to each other. Impermanence help us to see the nature of non-self, and help us to see the nature of emptiness, help us to see the nature of interpenetration. So all the teachings are one. One teaching contains all teachings. That is a statement we see in the Avatamsaka Sutra. And the third nature is the nature of the Absolute. It's called Nishpana. Of course, sometimes we can touch the nature of Vikalpa. We realize that it is ourselves who have created that world. And sometimes when we are mindful, sometimes we practice looking deeply enough, we will touch the nature of Paratantra. We see the interconnection between things. And what about the nature of Nibbana? The nature of Nibbana is the true nature of reality that cannot be described. You have described the nature of Vikalpa, consisting of selves and things. You have described the nature of Paratantra, that consists of the interdependence between things, between selves. So you have been using terms and concepts and ideas in order to practice, to express, and to help. But reality is free from every kind of concepts. Any concept, any notion, any word cannot express true reality, and reality beyond all concepts, all ideas is called Nibbana. And that is why in the beginning of this course we have learned about the three Dhammasils, which is impermanence, non-self, and Nirvana. Remember the piece of 1 franc with the tail, the head, and the substance of the metal and the metal. The tail is impermanence, the head is non-self, and the substance, metallic substance that make the piece of 1 franc is Nirvana. So Paratantra is just the upper part, the two first Dhammasils. Impermanence and non-self are door. They can open reality to us, the reality, so that we can enter. Impermanence and non-self are keys to unlock the door. Impermanence and non-self are not presented to you, to us, as an ideology, a doctrine, a concept. Although it is a word, they are words, they are concepts, but they are offered to us not as a doctrine, not as a theory, but as an instrument. When people offer you a hammer, they want to make use of the hammer. When someone offers you a cup, they want us to make use of the cup. They don't want us to worship the cup or the hammer. It's no use to worship a cup. A cup is used to drink tea, water. So the teaching of impermanence and of non-self are not doctrines given to us in order to worship and to believe as the absolute truth. They are given to us as instruments so that we can practice looking deeply, to live according to that kind of instruments. People might think that impermanence and non-self are description of reality, but the concern of the Buddha, of other teachers, are not to describe reality, to give a description of reality. but to help us to remove our misunderstanding, our pain. And that is why the Buddha always said that my teaching aims at only one thing: to transform suffering, to bring peace and joy. And therefore, the teaching has a pragmatic, a practical nature. So looking upon the teaching as an ideology, as a theory, is wrong. And therefore, we have to look at the teaching as an instrument. That is very important. I remember there is in the Anguttara Nikaya a small sutra where the Buddha denied the teaching of impermanence. Vajrakota is a philosopher. He came to the Buddha and he asked the Buddha this question: do you claim that that reality is impermanent and any other statement about reality is incorrect? That is the question. It's a question put forth by Vajrakota. I hear that you preach impermanence. Do you mean to say that impermanence is the only reality, the only truth, and everything else is any other kind of statement that does not go along with that is wrong? Buddha said no, I didn't say that. So it's very clear. It's very clear that the Buddha did not want to preach the theory of impermanence. Of course, he did not want to preach the theory of impermanence, of permanence, but he did not want to preach the theory of impermanence either. He did not want to preach any theory. That is why if you are caught by permanence, it's not good for you. But if you are caught by the idea of impermanence, it's not good to you either. The same thing with non-self. If you are caught in the notion of self, it's not good. But if you are caught in the notion of non-self, it's not good either. And that is why Nirvana is reality as it is, free from all kind of concepts, all kind of teachings, all kind of doctrines. So that is equivalent to Nibbana. So let us read together verse 20. What the range of events is constructed by whatever construction, it is just the constructed, its nature is non-existent. Whatever range of events is constructed means the object of construction, selves and things. By whatever construction is here means any kind of consciousness, mind consciousness, or manas, or eye consciousness, or ear consciousness. So construction here means consciousness. There are of 3 kinds or 8 kinds, and whatever consciousness constructing whatever event, it is just construction. The builder and the built belong to the world of Vikalpa, the world of construction. And in order to get rid of that kind of delusion, we practice Paratantra, impermanence and non-self. We use the word impermanence and non-self. We learn the teaching of impermanence and non-self in such a way that we will not caught by these teachings, by these notions. This is very important. That is why the Buddha insists that we look upon the teaching as a raft to cross the river and not the other shore. The raft is not the shore. So we should make intelligent use of this and not to get caught in it as a doctrine, as the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is something free from all conceptions. The nature of interdependence is born from the discernment of conditions. Conditions here means pratyaya. When you look at one thing, like a flower, you try to touch all the conditions that have brought about the presence of the flower. And the more deeply you look, the more clearly you see the nature of interdependence of the flower. That is why I said the nature of interdependence is born from the discernment of conditions. Phân biệt duyên sở sanh. The absolute is the state when the interdependent is separated for own ways from the constructed. The absolute nishpana reveals itself when by practicing Paratantra, you get rid totally of Vikalpa. Before that, although you have touched the nature of Paratantra, but it's not Nishpana yet. Practicing Paratantra in a deep way, one day you will get rid of Vikalpa, and the absence of Vikalpa means the presence of Nishpana. The absolute is the state when the independent is separated for own ways from the constructed. 22nd. Therefore, it is neither different nor non-different from the interdependent, just like impermanence. When the one is not seen, the other is not. The question is whether Paratantra and Nishpana are the same or are different. That is the difference between noumena and phenomena. Is there any difference between impermanence, non-self and nirvana? The answer here is not the same, it's not different. It's like the waves and the water. The waves are not the water, but without water, the waves cannot be. So it's not the same, and it's not different. It's like the frog. The tail, the head of the frog are also made of the metallic substance, but they are different. They are the same, but they are different. Therefore, it is neither different nor non-different from the independent, just like impermanence. When the one is not seen, the other is not. Impermanence here is used as an example. Impermanence. Impermanence of what? We cannot see the nature of impermanence if we don't see things that are impermanent. Like the flower here is something that is impermanent. So looking at the flower, we see impermanence. You cannot touch the impermanence of the flower without the flower. And that is why without the flower, you cannot see impermanence. Without impermanence, you cannot see the flower. That is why it is said that when the one is not seen, the other is not. When the flower is not seen, and the nature of impermanence of the flower cannot seen. After having discussed about the three natures, the author is afraid that his students will be caught by the ideas of three natures. And therefore, he went on with verse 22. And now the 23, 24, 25. 23rd, the non-nature of dharmas has been taught only in connection with the three non-natures of the three natures. There's a concern that we be caught in the notion of three natures, and we believe that reality has three natures. That is why we have these verses. And the teaching of the three non-nature are given. The first is a non-nature because it's of its own character. The first is vikalpa. We have talked about it as a nature, but now we have to look at it to see that it is a non-nature. Its character is non-existing, right? The first is a non-nature because of its own character. Its character is false, non-existing. That is why it is a non-nature. It's so simple. The second is a non-nature because it does not exist by itself. Paratantra. Paratantra by itself means you have to rely on others in order to be. That is the very meaning of paratantra, interdependence. And the idea of interdependence excludes the notion of nature by itself. Nature means that you are different, you are yourself, you are not linked to other things. My nature, your nature. So nature means you are separate. You are by your own. You are there by your own. But the idea of paratantra, it means interbeing. Even the notion of paratantra is contradicting that. Nothing has its own nature. So the second is a non-nature because it does not exist by itself. Nothing can exist by itself, including the nature of Paratantra. How can you talk about the nature of Paratantra if you don't talk about the nature of Vikalpa? Just because we have talked about Vikalpa, that is why we are capable of talking about Paratantra. It's like the right and the left. We just talk about the left, and this is why we can talk about the right. If we don't talk about the left, how could we talk about the right? So Paratantra is just the antidote of Vikalpa. And if Vikalpa doesn't exist, how could Paratantra exist? Because Paratantra means without nature, without self-nature. Svabhava. The Chinese is tự tánh, self-nature. The third is the absence of its own nature. The third is the nature of Nishpana. Nishpana is Nirvana. Nishpana is the extinction of all concepts, including the concept of nature. So it is a non-nature. I think these verses are the most important in the 30 verses. Giờ thầy ngồi nghỉ một chút rồi thầy giảng tiếp.